Kirk Altrichter grew up just beyond the shadow of Mac's truck plant in Macungie, Pennsylvania, but his career in transportation wasn't immediately obvious. He was the middle child of an electrician and a school teacher, so Dad's influence in the trades was apparent. By high school, Kirk was enrolled in a vocational and technical program, spending half the day in the classroom and half in VOTEC training, where he focused on electronics and worked on TVs, radios, and various household items. He also worked with his dad wiring houses.
I mean, I was in VOTEC, so electronics school, and did a lot of work there. Helped my dad wire houses, moonlighting, doing that, and spent a lot of time working on cars. Not because I wanted to, but because at that point, you're running a beater, so you're spending a lot of time fixing things. I mean, working with my dad wiring houses, it gave me a little more knowledge, and it's funny, when I was on board ship with the Marine Corps, I took courses on electronics and finished up the Navy courses for that, and spent some time in the radio room and fixing electronics on board ship. So it just interested me.
Kirk had one very specific goal for high school, and that was to simply make it out. And as he just alluded to, with a diploma in hand, Kirk joined the Marine Corps. Within 4 weeks of graduation, he was already in Parris Island.
My brother was in the Marine Corps, still was when I graduated, and so it gave me, I think, a different path. Spent a lot of time traveling the world, doing the things that you hear about, no, I didn't necessarily want to go into a factory or work out of high school, and so military was the avenue I pursued.
After boot camp, Kirk found himself at Fort Sill for artillery forward observer training, then Little Creek, Virginia for Naval Gunfire Spotter School. Then he was off to Camp Lejeune. Kirk's tour of active duty took him places like Norway, Grenada, Beirut, and Libya.
So in Beirut, I was an artillery forward observer, meaning that I directed artillery fire on the target. Same thing with naval gunfire. So the battleship New Jersey and any number of destroyers or frigates that were off the coast were receiving their instructions from our group. There was a group of 6 of us there that were handling the naval gunfire. Libya was more or less just protecting the Coast Guard station there on the little island called Lampedusa, and making sure that Muammar Gaddafi didn't pass a certain point. Beirut, yeah, we were getting regularly shot at, and I made the mistake of, remember the old cassette recorders? I made some tapes and mailed them home, and Mom thinks it's a message or something, and she starts playing it, and it's machine guns and artillery rounds going on in the background, and so that didn't go over very well.
After 4 years of active duty and achieving the rank of corporal, Kirk transitioned to the Marine Reserves in 1986. Being more or less stateside allowed Kirk to enroll in college. He picked up an evening job working with UPS loading and unloading trucks, and went to school during the day in pursuit of a computer science degree. Upon graduation, and after a brief stint working for a security company, he joined Schneider National in 1994 and kick-started his career in trucking.
Well, he was eager to change the world and make a statement for himself, and travel and have adventures. He was in the Marine Corps, and so he also did that. And so, yeah, we just went. We decided that it was let's cross the country, let's keep climbing the ladder, and it was a great adventure, and I wouldn't change it for the world. We've been able to meet so many different types of people and be in different types of communities, and it's been really a wonderful experience.
For the couple's next adventure, after 5 years with Schneider, Kirk was given the opportunity to join Pacific Washington-based Gordon Trucking and took over leadership of its operations team. But that was only temporary. It became apparent that where Gordon really needed Kirk was in the maintenance department, and that's a place that he was not all that familiar with.
The owner, Larry Gordon, talked to me a couple times about taking over maintenance, and I had told him, I said, not really necessarily my forte, and it'd be a steep learning curve for me. I'm more of an ops guy, I am mechanically inclined, but that doesn't necessarily make me a good maintenance guy. So we had that conversation a few times, and then when I got sent over to Iraq in '03 and I came back, Larry sat me down again and he says, hey, before you get too deep into ops again, why don't we revisit the maintenance issue? Kind of gave him the same spiel, and he kind of looks at me and he says, if I wanted you for your maintenance abilities, I wouldn't be picking you. I want you for your leadership and your organizational skills. And I get that it's going to be a learning curve, but you got some folks you can lean on to do that.
I guess, like any trucking company, it grows up from a small one to a larger one. The skill set and the span of authority and control change over time. And our maintenance group and management of maintenance was filled with people that had come off the floor and were technicians and knew things very well from a mechanical standpoint, but they weren't necessarily real structured in how they managed things, how they trained, how they communicated. And, we knew Kirk had those skills from his time on the operations side with us. And so we wanted to, again, just like he had done with our fleet management group, build a structure. And so, having virtually nothing in terms of like written down procedures and protocols, because, guys just knew what to do, right? But as we got bigger, we had to be able to carry those messages and that training to a much broader audience. And, you couldn't always just go to the answer grape to figure out, what needed to be replaced and what didn't, and where you could get a good buy and all those types of things. So he brought that and melded it very well with, some of our more technical experts that had grown up, had been turning a wrench for most of their career until they became managers.
After 9 deployments in 21 years, Kirk retired from the Marines in 2003 as a Chief Warrant Officer and took the transition to truck service head on. Now charged with reining in Gordon's maintenance cost and standardizing its repair practices, Kirk, at the urging of then Gordon CFO Bob Goldberg, attended his first Technology and Maintenance Council annual meeting in 2003, firmly entrenching himself in the world of commercial truck repair.
It's like drinking through a fire hose. There's just so much information. And so I think the bigger thing was walking away with contacts, people that I could reach out to after the meeting and ask questions or get a better understanding of how things are supposed to work, and then getting involved. So I had signed up for several committees, and I think it was my second meeting. I was already in as a vice chair for one of the, I don't remember if it was S12 or S14, one of those two groups. And then wasn't long after that, I'd say within the next year. So think within 2 years, I'm running a study group, and that's S4, cabs and controls. And I did that for probably 6 years, and then got elected to the board. So at TMC, I met, first meeting, Mike Jeffress, Steph Sabo, Kevin Tomlinson, Brett Hilton, Tommy Newby, Warren Summers, a lot of Bruce Perkey, a lot of good people. And I'm sure I missed some names, but those were the guys that, Roy Gambrell, that just kind of were there and developed those relationships and learned a lot. I mean, Lee Long, I don't think I met him till I'd been to a few meetings, but he and I kind of formed a partnership over the years and kind of saw things in a lot of cases the same way. Mike Jeffress was there. I'd reach out to him probably a lot more frequently back then than either one of us do anymore, but still stay in touch. Just great people, a lot of knowledge, different, definitely different approach to things from each one of them.
When we started our OTR department, we tried to make sure that our over-the-road repair group had a blending of skills of folks that had come from fleet management and vice versa. So we kind of cross-pollinated that, and Kirk was a big champion for that, making sure that you had different perspectives in the room and balance the various needs of the business. And, he was doing all that while he was learning more of the technical aspects of the maintenance world. And he worked really hard with, especially a lot of our big vendors, to learn about their products, learn about how to use them more effectively, how to spec the trucks more efficiently and cost effectively. And so he really soaked up that knowledge, not only from our internal folks, but from a lot of the really, really good vendors that are out there in the industry that are, a wealth of information and ready to help you if you're willing to accept the help.
He led S4 for 6 years and was elected to the organization's board of directors in 2011, serving in 2012 as chairman and chairman of meetings. Kirk, then vice president of Gordon Trucking, was installed as the 2013-2014 TMC general chairman and treasurer, and 10 years after first stepping foot into a TMC meeting, he was awarded with the council's highest honor, the Silver Spark Plug. When installed as general chairman, Kirk, who helped develop and implement TMC's 5-year strategic plan, a 22-point growth marketing, educational, and training program, said his goal was to focus attention on technician recruitment and to increase the representation of TMC at technical schools.
And that was the push. If you look at the schools, the high schools, they're pushing you to college. I mean, that is and was their sole focus. And so I look back when I graduated, it was go to work, go to a trade school, go to college, or join the military. I mean, those were, and they try and steer you in the direction that they thought fit best. And that somewhere along the line got lost. And then people going into the trades really started to dry up. Whether it's youth, I'm not hung up on age, but it is a matter of steering people to where they most likely will have success. Votechs have, if you pay attention, a lot of them have closed. They're not supported by the school districts, and a lot of the technical colleges have closed up. I mean, you look at folks that have attended TMC over the years, and a lot of those schools have had financial difficulties.
As Kirk's reign as chairman was nearing its end, Gordon Trucking in late 2013 was acquired by Heartland Express, and roughly 3 months after the close of the transaction, Kirk joined Crete as the vice president of maintenance, handling the carrier's maintenance facilities, parts, truck, and trailer procurement, and, as he recalls, quote, dealing with, at the time, 3,500 internationals with MaxxForce engines.
Now, I had driven one car out in one of our trailers and came back after we closed on the house, we were getting ready to close on the house. And so I'm bringing the other car and trailer with 3 kids and a cat and her, and we get out to Wamsutter, Wyoming, and it's snowing and the highway is shut down, and I am not going to park on the side of the road for God knows how long. So we pull in, and the only thing in Wamsutter is Love's, and there's a strip motel there. So I'm like, I call over to the strip motel because I don't feel like sleeping in the car for the next day or however. So I call over there. Luckily, they had a room, and so we go over there, and old guy dragging about 150 foot of oxygen line behind him. And he's got a little store in there too, so I grab some stuff and go up and ask him, okay, so how much per night? He's, $54. I'm like, that's cheap. And so pay that, get ready to walk out there. Oh, hang on a minute, you're going to want these rags to shove underneath the door because the wind's blowing from the east and the snow will come in under the door. He said, stops me again. He says, don't turn on more than 2 things at a time. You blow the fuse. I said, okay. So I get back there to the room, and it is the old strip motel. Get the door open, and there's snow on the windowsill, and the hole in the bathtub is, for the vent is open. So Jed's in there shoving towels in, and stuck the sodas on the windowsill because it was a ready-made freezer, and so turned the little ceramic heater on and turned the TV on, and I think about that time Logan hit a switch for something else, and poof, power went out. So he goes out back and he's flipping the breaker on, trying to find it through a 6-foot snowdrift on the back of the building. In the meantime, dogs beating on the door trying to get in from outside. And if you look across when you open the door, it looks like it's been a range war there because somebody's had a paintball fight through. Cat, in the meantime, comes in, gets out of the bag, jumps from the bag onto the bed, stays there for about 10 seconds and gets back in the bag. If you've ever had a cat, they don't like that bag. So Cat's back in the bag. It was interesting. Next morning I get up, I go to get a shower, and the handles are vice grips. Like, good stuff. And I have had to hear that repetitively. This is Mother's Day. I will probably hear that story the rest of my life on how I treated her on Mother's Day.
Just as Crete's MaxForce project was winding down, Kirk was presented in July 2016 with an opportunity to join Keenan Advantage Group, North America's largest tank truck transporter and logistics provider, as its Executive Vice President of Fleet Services, a role he still holds today.
I mean, Kirk can roll up his sleeves and be in one of our shops across North America, converse with our technicians, crawl underneath the equipment, and then, within a couple hours be sitting in that boardroom table and really talking high-level strategy.
Kirk is still passionate about the industry. He still puts time and effort into TMC and is currently working on the development of an RP that would address how carbon monoxide monitors and smoke detectors should be spec'd in a Class 8 truck. That's a task that's required getting Underwriters Laboratories on board. But his passions also lie with his people, specifically the development of his people that can ultimately lead them to the best possible professional version of themselves.
I've had a lot of people that have worked with me over the years, and I want to see more of them continue on and be successful, whether it's in maintenance or something else. But several of them are, running maintenance organizations for, top 100 trucking companies now, and I would like to see more of the folks that I've worked with over the years continue down that road and be successful. It's building the bench. That I'm passionate about. I want to have the bench strength. I want the guys around me to be able to step up to the next level at the drop of a hat and be able to take over. There shouldn't be a moment's hesitation in having that bench strength and having the capability within any organization to do that. I'm a firm believer in rounding people out. So just because you started out as a shop manager doesn't mean that you understand trucking. You understand your aspect of trucking, but you don't necessarily understand operations. You don't understand human resources. You don't understand sales or customer service. So I like to round people out, because you never know when you're going to need a terminal manager or regional manager that should understand those things. So there's my passion, and will continue to be, is to get people the training, the experience that they need to be successful.
Kirk's clearly a practitioner of what he preaches, having taken that leap of faith to round himself out, so to speak, 20 years ago and put himself on the path to maintenance. But as a guy who didn't come up on the shop floor really a maintenance guy, Kirk says that's not really the question.
Can you be a maintenance guy without being a motorhead? Yes, you can.